the Everything But Politics podcast.
All right, we're live. Welcome back and happy Monday. This is the Everything But Politics podcast. My name is Merrick Leeser alongside Ethan and Evan Leeser. Joining us from the Nucleus Network, we got Michael Axman, Jake Fleshner. Guys, great to meet you. Great to finally have you on the show.
Welcome. Thanks for having us, gentlemen.
It's an honor to be on the show. You guys look exactly alike. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So excited to have you guys. I initially, prior to me reaching out to Michael, I've been seeing you guys all over my LinkedIn. So we're going to get into LinkedIn. You guys are absolutely crushing on that platform. But I guess before we really get rolling, how do you two know each other? Where did you meet?
Jake and I met all the way around the world in Australia, studying abroad back in 2017. That was our first time meeting.
And was there like a warm lead there or just totally random interaction?
Well, Jake went to Michigan.
Yes.
And even though Michigan sucks, Indiana's better. I went to Indiana. We studied abroad together, and we had some mutuals. You know, the Big Ten bloodline was running thick, and we hadn't, I don't think, met officially, but there was definitely some kind of warm connections between the two of us.
Yeah, I love how you mentioned warm leads because our whole business is warm intros. That's probably why you mentioned it. To answer your question, I don't necessarily remember the exact time I met Mikey, but I'm sure it was through a warm introduction. So yes, it was through a warm intro.
Got it. Okay, so Australia, and then you guys must have been juniors then in college, correct?
That's right.
So you have another year at both Ann Arbor and Bloomington. You guys stay connected? Like, what was the relationship like the next couple of years?
Yeah, we stayed connected loosely. You know, what really happened is I moved out to Los Angeles when we graduated back in 2019, and that's when we started staying more closely connected, talking business, playing ball. I would dominate Jake in one-on-one. He'll never admit to it, but I have videotape to prove it. And then we, fast forward several years, started Nucleus together.
So that's the funny thing about videos is that you can take videos of like an hour game and then like 4 seconds where the other person beats you. That's what he uses as a highlight tape. But to better answer the question, we'd play basketball or tennis once a week and I beat him 94% of the time. Now we've come to the point where we got very competitive. Mike is a very good loser, and I'm a good loser too, but I'm a better winner. And we decided that we can run a company together based on this. And we actually also did another business where we started a crispy rice, spicy tuna business during COVID, which is like the first technical company that we started together also.
Very cool.
So that you guys were playing sports first, do the rice, and then where does the inception come to start the Nucleus?
That's all Jake.
I'll answer that. So at the time, Michael's obviously a New Yorker. I'm from LA. Michael knew a good amount of people in LA, but he still was kind of getting in the rhythm of who he knew. So we were both very competitive. So as we started to play sports once a week together, we obviously started to hang out more. So there was one night where we actually were at a jacuzzi, just talking about life and business ideas that we had. We kind of have always been those types of people for each other, just running ideas by each other. And I was like, Mike, I have an amazing idea for a business. At the time, we were both very happy where we were at career-wise, but we said, hey, we know so many people. We're like the center for a lot of our friends. Why don't we just start a company to connect our friends to each other? So we had this idea. We brainstormed it in this jacuzzi this night, and we were like, when the time is right, we're going to quit our jobs and we're going to go about and do this. So that was about a year and a half before we actually started the company. We would talk to each other and figure out how we do it and why we do it. And then we actually were in Ibiza about 2.5 years ago, Michael and I. We were with 30 of our best friends, and Michael and I looked at each other and we were like, when we're back on Monday, let's just go all out and start this company, which is exactly what we did. And now we're 2.5 years into the business and we decided to just go for it.
Congratulations. Yeah, 2.5 years. I'm sure it's gone like that. So
yeah,
2.5 years. And then Jake, so I came to find out you worked for David Meltzer for a couple of years. We had David on our show. We've interviewed David twice, one on the podcast, one like a street interview. David's awesome. Talk to us about what you learned from David Meltzer.
Did you talk about politics with him?
Everything but.
Did not.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, give you a little bit more about my background. I grew up in Los Angeles. I've always loved starting companies. I got into it because of Gary Vaynerchuck, Gary V. I worked for Gary for a little bit. And then from there, I was like, who is similar to Gary that I can learn a lot of lessons from that also has like the sports angle to it? So I met David when I was a senior in college at South by Southwest. I walked up to him and I said, hey, he actually was with 2 NFL players at the time, like on a panel. And I was like, whoever that little Jewish guy is who's around all the athletes, who's a business guy, I need to work for him. So I walked up to him and I was like, David, I know you don't know me, but I'll do whatever it takes for me to work for you next year. And he's like, okay, I'll give you a job. I met him a couple of times. And that was my first role out of college. I worked for him for 4.5 years. By that time I was done, I was the chief revenue officer. I traveled to over 60 countries. I was overseeing 90% of our revenue. And I got to meet some of the most you guys know him and know how connected he is.
Yes.
I was kind of like the chief relationship officer for him. So I was overseeing all of the talent, all of the dinners, all of the events that we were doing. And from there, I realized that I guess your network is your net worth. But more importantly, the most successful people solve their challenges by who they know, not by what they know, which eventually led into starting this company.
This episode of the Everything But Politics podcast is sponsored by Brick House Coffee Co.
For all my dark coffee lovers out there, Brick House Coffee has got you covered. Their black is a rich, bold profile for those who enjoy a bold cup with notes of dark chocolate. Now back to the show.
Okay, so you mentioned something, your network is your net worth. I think, Michael, when you and I first spoke on the phone, you had said that. What does that mean to you guys as founders of the Nucleus Network?
I think it's something that most people not only understand, but agree on. It's pretty unanimous. The tough part that we had to come to terms with is that all sounds great, but how do you start a company based on that fact? People, we love connecting people. We've got our own strong networks. I think a lot of people claim to be, super connectors, and we think that's great. We think more people should be making introductions. We had to think long and hard about it. Is like, how do you start a business behind the fact that your network is your net worth? And we wanted to leverage those warm introductions to create instances where the people we were connecting to each other were both finding value, right? This isn't like a I win, you lose, or vice versa. So we want to create these mutually beneficial relationships, connect people to each other, and be the nucleus, hence the name, right?
Nice.
And so that's why Jake and I took a lot of time to think about what that looks like from a brand perspective, what that looks like internally in terms of how we're managing our own relationships, and an introduction tracker, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And the business has evolved a lot ever since. But, people always talk about it's not what you know, it's who you know. And we want it to be the who you knows of our own network.
Definitely. So Jake's background is then more so in sports. What would you consider your background in?
Funny enough, my background's in music. I graduated from IU, go Hoosiers, shout out Indiana.
Always.
And
Amazing tournament run for the Hoosiers. Sorry.
nobody asked anybody.
National champs.
Yeah, we'll take
national
the national
champs.
That's right.
We
That's
don't
right.
care about
That's
basketball.
right. The sport that they're supposed to be good at, by the way, which we dominated. So anyway,
Absolutely.
I moved out to LA in 2019 to work at an early stage, high growth tech startup in the music space, music, entertainment, travel. I was on the growth team. I joined pre-Series A. I think I was employee probably 30 in the US. And then fast forward 4.5 years, there were 700 people globally. We had partnered with the biggest artists on the planet, Justin Bieber, J Balvin, Diplo, Cascade, Deadmau5. And we threw these really epic, highly curated, intimate travel destination experiences across the planet. So think Justin Bieber to Vegas with 3,000 super fans, or J Balvin to Cancun with, his really core super fans that we handled everything from A to Z. We handled the booking process, the marketing, the ticketing, the lineup, the itinerary, and so on and so forth. And that company raised a few $100 million, but ultimately I knew I wanted to start my own thing. And I was very curious at that time how we were operating, because at high growth tech companies, generally speaking, you're not profitable, right? You're pouring fuel on the fire. You found product market fit and something's working. So you raise capital from VCs or family offices or high net worth individuals to keep kind of fueling the growth that you're seeing. So I started networking with people in those spaces. People that went to IU, for example, was probably the first target that I hit. I was like, who went to IU that works in venture, or that runs a family office, or that angel invests? And I just started asking a million questions. I was probably a bit annoying about it, but I was just intellectually curious and wanted to soak up as much as I can about what people look for in an investment, how to structure an investment, what happens post-investment, and different kind of thesis and mandates around venture investing. And so outside of music, travel, and entertainment, I really built up a strong network on the investing side. And this all happened in the years leading up to the part where Jake and I started Nucleus. And so when you kind of balance and complement each other on the networks front, Jake had the David Meltzer experience with all those athletes and entrepreneurs and motivational speakers and podcast hosts and influencers. And I had more on like the music and agency and family office and venture capital side. The overlap was we got lucky.
What was the first thing you guys bonded over that wasn't business?
Sports, I would say.
Watermelon.
Basketball, football?
Yeah.
Watermelon what?
Juice. Watermelon juice.
Juice.
Watermelon
I'm
juice.
gonna, I'm gonna, ask a question back to you guys. What's your favorite juice?
Orange juice.
Watermelon juice. I'm gonna ask a question back to you guys. What's your favorite juice?
Orange juice.
Watermelon juice.
Yeah, I mean,
All
that's a
three of you?
great question.
Like fresh squeezed or no Tropicana shit. Like fresh squeezed, like you gotta like see the orange getting pressed, that kind of orange juice.
When you buy like the can or the pre-cut pineapple, you drink the pineapple juice at the end. Kind
Oh,
of fire.
okay.
Yeah,
How
I
about
would have to go with that. Like now that you
Right?
asked the question, like I don't drink that many juices.
Like freshly squeezed OJ.
OJ or a pineapple for sure.
Yeah,
guys-
so we're big fruit eaters over
But
here.
I love watermelon too, though.
A lot of fruit.
you had
Guys-
watermelon juice freshly squeezed?
I don't believe so.
No,
I mean, I've
Guys,
drinking
sit out.
it,
we gotta get
but
on
like
that.
not like I haven't intentionally done it.
Yeah, you get on the wave.
You got a juicer out there, Jake? What's the secret sauce there?
Or not, I don't got a juicer actually. I'm
Okay.
I try to save time while not cooking or making juice, but I do order watermelon juice about 3 times a week. And it's $11 and it's worth every penny. So Michael and I have a very big bond over that juice.
I actually had one this morning. I'm not even kidding. I went to brunch with my family. I ordered one at brunch.
Your guts love you for that.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
I love that.
So, prior to founding the Nucleus Network, let's talk about like a couple days before that. Obviously, you guys have been in contact. You're like, let's do this after this, the Ibiza trip. So from there, you're on the plane home. Like, were you guys in your head? It's time to start this business, or did you get back to the States and then kind of formulate a plan? What was that like for you both?
Step one, believe it or not, I think a lot of companies start and they're like, how do we incorporate? Or where do we build our website? Or, where's our first customer? We said none of those three. We said we need an office. So we went back to LA and we got an office space, Jake and I, so that we can figure the rest of those things out together because we're big on in person. And this is kind of before the big AI wave really hit. We've always been big on in person and events and whatnot. But we got an office in Santa Monica. We got a whiteboard. I think that was our first purchase was a whiteboard, and we would just take
the Erewhon membership. And then
yeah. And yeah, we got the office and figured the rest out after that. I think that was step one for us.
So
And
get an office space, and then
our motto is everything is figure outable.
yes, it is.
We just decided to go for it. Another important lesson for the viewers and listeners is that we didn't have a business plan. We decided to come up with this business. We didn't have a business plan at all. We've never made a PowerPoint deck in our company history, and we decided to just go for it. So you may ask, what did our parents and family and friends think? Because we had at the time, we were doing very well in our careers. We just went for it. At the end of the day, if you have an idea and a concept, you just need to believe in what you're doing and the rest will figure itself out. So I tell a lot of college kids that and a lot of first time founders, you don't need everything figured out. You just got to go and do it and it'll all start to come to be.
Love that. So Jake, for the Nucleus Network, I'm trying to understand like how are you guys like similar to like a booking agent where like you're getting a commission if like a deal goes through? How does like the revenue play into that?
Amazing question. When we first started the business, like I said, we went to our friends and asked them what they need.
Yeah.
Our initial model is going to be like, okay, the only way we're monetizing is a mutual referral agreement is what we call it. So basically, if one of our friends does, hey, I need a graphic designer, we were then going to the graphic designer who's our friend also that's in the network and say, hey, if we send you a deal and it closes, just give us 10% of whatever happens and it's a win-win. And what we realized is because these are all our friends in the network, people are more than happy to give you a percentage of whatever they're making. And in business, it doesn't always need to be a win-lose. It could be a win-win-win. And that's what we realized. So when we first started the company, we set up and had about 350 of these mutual referral agreements, which part of it meant that if our friend said, hey, my friend needs a graphic designer, and that friend connected us to their friend, we would then give them a percentage of the percentage. So it was like a flywheel
Yeah.
to each other. So that's how we first started. We made over 2,000 introductions. We've tracked every introduction that we've ever made in a CRM. And then over time, we were like, wait a minute, like this is actually working. But then people were then like, okay, what actually is the Nucleus Network? Like, how do we actually get involved? That's why we came up with the 3 pillars of our business, which Michael can share more on. And it's really helped us kind of monetize in different ways. But at the end of the day, our whole business is about connecting people through warm intro. So Ax, you want to share more about the pillars?
Yeah, the Nucleus Network is intentionally named, right? We want to be the nucleus. We want to be the source of successful individuals and entities that people go to when they need something. If you guys are looking for a sponsor for your podcast or a next guest, you're typically going to reach out to someone you know, which is what happened, who's going to introduce you to the person, and then kind of that's how you build from there. And so Jake mentioned 2,000 intros, which is an accurate number, but the timeline's important, right? So we started the company, we signed a little over 300 referral agreements, we made 2,000 intros, and I think the first like 3 to 6 months. And what we saw, which is the same as a lot of businesses that even we invest in today. It's called the 80-20 rule. So 80% of the revenue we generated came from 20% of our clients, right? And so the 20% of the clients that we really crushed it for came to us proactively and they were like, hey, you've changed our whole business, right? You've made all these introductions. This is what's happened as a result of them. So they asked us for more of our time. And when you have several hundred agreements, you're spread pretty thin, right? We're not transacting with all of them, but we're doing our best to make intros and, keep them top of mind. And so the individuals and the businesses that we really dominated for, they came to us and they said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pay you guys a monthly retainer. We're going to give you some equity in our business, and we'll continue to incentivize you with upside to make warm introductions as a service, be more hands-on, right? Operate as an extension of our team. And so I give you that context and that origin story because the evolution of that referrals business, which is now one of our 3 pillars, is what we call Nucleus Advisory. It's warm introductions as a service. We work with venture-backed founders. We work with agencies. We work with family offices. And we are what Jake calls the fractional chief networking officer. So if you guys are looking for podcast sponsors, if you guys are looking for guests, if you guys are looking to build out your board of advisors, we want to be the person that connects you to the people you want to meet. And we're transparent. We can't help everybody with everything, right? But there's been a lot of value in what we've provided because now fast forward 2.5 years, we're about to hit the 10,000 introduction mark, and we track every single introduction and we know what happened as a result of that introduction. And so we're really kind of specific about monitoring and organizing the information in terms of who we know, how we connect them, and what happens as a result. So that's kind of one of the 3 core pillars is Nucleus Advisory. A lot of these intros are founders and investors, as we were talking about earlier, right? So Nucleus Ventures is the second core pillar where we're now investing in startups. Because if our team is speaking to a few hundred business owners a month, why would we not invest in the top 1%, especially if we can prove that we can add value to that founder by making intros? So if you guys are starting, a watermelon juice company to make it full circle and you're looking to raise,
I would take the whole round.
two investors right here, that's for sure. But on top of that, we're going to connect you to other people who have built and sold companies in consumer, other investors who specialize in that industry. Because I think in the consulting space right now, like there's a lot of people, there's a lot of fluff and there's a lot of buzzwords out there, and there's some that are great. We're not going to pretend to be experts in every space, but we know people who are.
Yeah.
So we're leveraging connections as a currency, and we're going to connect you to those people so that there's that win-win-win that Jake was talking about earlier. So that's the second core pillar. And the third and final one is what we call Nucleus Community, which is pretty ironic because it's probably the most important part of our business that definitely generates the least amount of revenue. Nucleus Community is our events business. We host about 50 or 60 events a year. That's our way of connecting great people in person, right? Because if we make an intro for you guys, that's one-to-one on text or on email or on Zoom, and we'll continue to do that. But in person just amplifies that, and we're big on hosting and kind of bringing great people together. So the final comment I'll make is there's instances where like we've met founders that we've hosted events for at Nucleus Community that we've then invested in through Nucleus Ventures and then made intros for through Nucleus Advisory. So there's that flywheel that Jake was talking about earlier.
And I love what you guys are doing. It's such a cool, as in the marketplace, is there anyone doing something similar to this? I mean, it doesn't seem like the connecting aspect is so, brilliant, but when you look at this space, who else is doing this?
There's a few communities out there that charge like a membership or a subscription fee to be a part of it. Like, in the old days or even still today, they're massive. It's YPO. And there's a couple others that are similar to that where you can kind of pay a fee and an annual subscription. And then you're a part of this community and you get access to events and networking groups and peer-to-peer sessions. And our thesis there, and I'll let Jake talk more about the competitive landscape in a second, is that we thought about, charging some sort of membership or subscription, but the second you do that, first of all, the expectation is heightened, right? So if we're charging you guys to be a part of the network, you're expecting an ROI on that, right?
Yeah.
Versus if we don't charge you and we simply kind of leverage the relationship, get to know you, understand what you're looking for, connect the dots for you, build what we call value debt or brownie points. The lasting effects and the benefits that come selfishly to us and also to you greatly exceed whatever sort of membership fee we were going to charge up front. So we've been pretty intentional about foregoing that subscription model, but there are some people that are finding success doing it.
Well, one thing I think that model, it kind of just emphasizes how you guys are thinking long term. I feel like getting a subscription or something like that, it's kind of just like the quick buck, and you're not that you're looking for that, but you're building that long term. You've only been doing it 2.5 years, right? You're thinking in decades, but I feel many people would hop on that, whatever $1,000 per intro kind of thing. But you guys are really, taking a stake in that equity side of things rather than just a quick buck on the um, subscription end.
Yeah, spot on. We definitely are thinking long term, like you said, and we also encourage people that are our age and younger to get involved in what we do. I think a lot of people have seen this on when they're later in their life. They're like, oh, I can invest in some of these companies, but then when you think about investing historically, you can usually only invest as like an angel investor that's putting in, let's say, 50K plus, or let's say through a fund, which is also even more than 50K. We kind of want to be like the next generation where it's like our friends, even we're like, hey guys, we're investing in X. You can put in a $10,000 check and still get involved and still be a part of some of the stuff we're doing, just to see how venture works and how you can actually back founders as well. So we definitely are playing the long game, but more importantly, why we started this company is to just help our friends. And it's evolved into like us making a couple more friends along the way. But at the end of the day, our main thesis is just helping our friends, connect them to opportunities and people, and it's really come to fruition.
Yeah, and speaking about helping people for a second, I was actually in Bloomington speaking to one of the classes at Kelly with one of my old professors, and a lot of students either walked up to me after, followed up on LinkedIn, or emailed me saying, "Hey, I was really inspired by your speech. Like, what can I do to get to a point? What can I do to add value to you or other people in my network?" And I tell them the same thing I tell our team, and the same thing Jake and I live by, which is use connections as a currency. Your network is more powerful than you think it is, even today, before you start to like formally build it. So if you're a college student looking for an internship and you're listening to this, or if you're, like Jake mentioned earlier, a founder looking to kind of gain traction with investors or other founders or potential customers, you can help people at no cost of your own by making introductions for them that would be valuable to them. And it doesn't have to have a monetary value. Like if we connect you guys to your next podcast guest, there's no cost, there's no exchange of, transaction per se, but both sides find value. Then they come back and they thank you for making that intro. And that's the kind of the value that we're talking about. So that's really the core of the business. And we don't want to deviate from that. So it's been really exciting.
I want to take a quick intermission to ask you guys questions. Really quick question. Is that okay?
Sure.
All
Let's
right.
go.
My question for you guys, what are you most excited about individually? It could be career-wise, could be professionally. Let's go one by one here.
Yeah, I'll go first. So if you see behind us, we got this logo as well. So we make music as well. So we made a commitment to ourselves 16 weeks ago. We just posted it today. Every week we're releasing a new song and a new podcast every week. So if you go on Spotify, Apple Music, Ethan writes the majority of the songs. So we've been really
We're on go mode.
that's what I've been looking forward to the most. I would say we're definitely still at that beginner stage where like the audience isn't where we expect it to be yet, but it's definitely been a really fun journey to make music with my brothers and do this podcast every week.
What kind of music are you guys making?
It's like rock, like pretty mellow, kind of like
It's like optimistic is how I like
it's
to
like
look
the
at it.
Beatles or like Grateful Dead, Eagles kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, the band's called Apollo Celine.
Apollo Celine.
And right now I think we've got 28 songs out. 29th is coming out Friday.
It's amazing.
And new song every Friday, new podcast every Monday. So it's been really exciting working ahead because like right now we're working on the 4th album, which is going to be out in like 4 weeks. So we're kind of working ahead of time, which is something we've never really done before because we're learning to really plan accordingly with our time. Whereas like when you don't have things that are pre-scheduled, you kind of just time will catch up on you. But when you set dates and things that have to be done by certain timelines, you hold yourself accountable. And when you have two other people on your team, you hold each other accountable. So it's been a lot of fun doing the podcast every week, a new song every week, and just like keeping up with the art.
Well, and to complement that, there's no winging it. So everything's really strategically planned. And I think the main thing, the last couple of years of building out our podcast and the music is when you're doing something like this and you're releasing every single week, you can't guess your days or weeks. I would feel like maybe in college, because college was just kind of college, but just kind of be guessing our date, at least for me, my days and my weeks. And now we have more structure within this and our other work, and everything's way more. We kind of could see the future a little more than we once were able to. Does that make sense?
Something else that's kind of cool is that every week has a song and a podcast in my memory. So like I can like when you don't have something, like when you have like the IU national championship, you remember that date and that week, right? That was a special thing. So when you have like something every single week to remember time by, it gives your life a little more structure in my memory. So it's kind
Yeah.
of cool, like looking back, like, oh, like when was that? Oh, that's when that podcast came out or that song came out. So that's
And
You
a
guys should play the song. You guys should play the song each week as like the opening and or closing, of the podcast.
I'm gonna say that.
No, for our short form, if you go to our social media, the song is playing in the background when we're talking, and Merrick will use it for clips. And
Yeah, we got all the instrumentals on Spotify as
yeah.
well.
So in addition to every song, we released the instrumental too.
That's
So
great.
yeah, so between the
Yeah.
music podcast, yeah,
Yep.
so like Ethan said, the having moments in time stamped by the either song or podcast is like really reflecting on, for example, David Meltzer was like September, October 2023, like always time stamped in that time frame, and just things of that nature, like Joe Buck, December episode 118, late December 2024. Like, everything is time stamped, which is
well, and I would say we
Never
like
had-
to look at it. So we're pretty big fans of the Grateful Dead, and we would go see Dead and Co. And they're in their 80s, and we're like, man, to look back on this music in 40 years, even 5-10 years, it's like when you release something and it becomes a thing forever, that's like a point in time that when I'm in my 80s, you could look back at your grandkids listening to that music that will always be there, or that podcast that will always be there.
Who's the singer?
Ethan primarily.
Merrick and I do back.
I was just
We
saying,
do the chorus.
Ethan's the lead. Ethan's the lead.
I sing most of it, but I have them come in for harmonies, and they'll play drums and bass guitar. And
You guys should make a song called Watermelon Juice.
yeah,
The watermelon sugar.
We got a lot coming up.
a Nucleus inspired song.
Well,
That'd be
what
great.
I like talking to young entrepreneurs like you guys is especially when you're at this stage 2.5 years, there's such a long-term vision. Like I say, we've only been doing this for 3.5 years. Like there's such a different mindset. Like, we've already been doing this 3.5 years, and we've only been doing this 3.5 years. I can tell you guys feel that way about Nucleus Network, and you're very I don't want to use the word public, but you're very outspoken and like confidently advancing, at least what I'm seeing on LinkedIn. So let's pivot back to you guys. I appreciate the flip there, but your guys' decision to go all in on LinkedIn, because you guys are posting, I think, more than anyone I see on LinkedIn. Was there like a strategic decision, like LinkedIn's our platform, we're going to dominate it?
I've got a funny story for that one. When
Okay.
we were in the office, which is another full circle moment. The first thing we got for the company is the office. Jake and I are in there. It's probably like Wednesday night at 11 p.m. grinding, figuring stuff out before we even kind of launched Nucleus to the public, right? And Jake turns to me. I'll never forget it. He was sitting on my right. He turns to me. He's like, I have a pretty crazy idea. I said, what is it? He goes, I want to give away coffee on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
What do you think? I go, that's probably the worst idea I've ever heard. And you should do it anyway. Like, nothing matters. Just do it. Whatever. Let's try it out. So when Jake mentioned earlier, everything is figure outable is kind of like our tagline. We counteract that with nothing matters as because you talk about being outspoken and just kind of advancing. Like, you have to have this mindset of like, what is there to lose? Especially when you're starting out, especially when you're young, you got to go out and get it. Because if you don't, then someone else will. And if you don't, you're missing out on your own chance. And so that's when Jake kind of really ramped up. I mean, you've been big on LinkedIn for a while, but that's when you ramped up from the Nucleus perspective.
Yeah, the Gary V line, people day trade attention.
Yep.
Sure you guys heard that before?
for
Day
sure.
trade attention, like you guys are doing with this podcast too. You're trying to get people's attention on you. I've been posting on LinkedIn since I was a senior in college, a junior in college, actually. And what they always say about LinkedIn especially is that it's cringy to post until it's not cringy to post when people start to notice you and notice what you're building. So our thought process on building this company was, as much as it is word of mouth, we're going to have to build in public and show people what we're building. Axe was a little hesitant to start, but now we got him on board, and Axe actually makes a lot of the content ideas that we have as our business. And his followers have gone up. He just hit 1 million impressions. I've 1 million impressions. There's like a
Congrats,
lot
guys.
going on the LinkedIn front that we've really enjoyed to see it come to fruition. Even our head of growth now, Danny, was so anti-LinkedIn, and now he reviews water bottles on LinkedIn. I don't know if there's anyone seen.
So this is something I want to talk about. I think is, again, we started this all before I think AI was like a huge thing, but we knew we wanted to be different. Like you could post the classic like motivation stuff or optimistic stuff or celebrating milestones. We signed this big contract or we hosted this event, and we'll post those things like for sure to keep people in the loop with what's going on in the Nucleus Network. But we know we want it to be different, and Jake kind of led the charge with the coffee giveaways. The way I've done my own unique posts on LinkedIn have been focused on like saunas and padel, for example,
Yeah.
two things that I love outside of business. And by the way, we've invested in a sauna place and we host events at padel, but I think that's happened kind of retroactively. I was like, what's going to spark people's attention? I'm passionate about going to the sauna. I love playing padel with my friends. Like, let me start posting about these types of topics where people would typically not expect to see that on LinkedIn. And to Jake's point, our head of growth, Danny, has taken a page out of both of our books and is now reviewing water bottles on the LinkedIn platform. So we like to get unique and different with it. We'd like to have fun with it. It's a platform that we're really long on. And for my main reason is other platforms like Instagram and TikTok are binary in the sense where if you guys post and we follow you, we see it, right? And maybe there's a For You page too. But on LinkedIn, if you guys are aware, if we're connected and there's someone that you're connected to that we don't have a relationship with and you like or comment on their post, that pops up on our feed. The LinkedIn algorithm really pushes kind of the 1 degree away connections.
Yeah, sure does.
And so we were kind of big on leaning into that as a platform. We've more recently spent more time on Instagram, but we're really, really long on LinkedIn for sure.
Well, so like I said, that's how I came across you guys initially, only to find out you and Tyler Berger are cousins. Shout out Tyler Berger. And in addition, like you said, the cringiness of posting or anything like that cringiness, you guys could speak on this, that cringiness or the FOMO of any event, that disappears when you're all the way committed on building your business. Do you guys agree with that? And if so, how speak on eliminating that from your lives?
I wholeheartedly agree with that. At first, it's the classic adage where they say they laugh at you, they scoff at you, and then they eventually want to work for you, right? I think it's the same way with social media. You're going to be posting things that aren't necessarily normal or you feel uncomfortable doing. But when you realize that you're just all in and you're in that circle already and you're already like past that fear stage, it's actually even worse to go backwards. Because then publicly people are like, he gave up. He gave up what he was
no
doing.
doubt.
And especially for you guys, like you guys are going all in on this podcast, you're going all in on these songs. Maybe the songs will stop. Hopefully they won't. But if they do, you still have to be doing something. So you made that dedicated ability to be posting on social, and you don't want to be the person to go backwards. Because I've known, especially in my previous career, people have gone all in for a month. They haven't seen traction, and then they stop right when they're about to get there. And the same thing happened with us technically with Nucleus. We were posting, some people were looking at what we were doing, we weren't getting too much traction. And there was like that point where we were like, okay, this is working, let's just keep going. But if we would have stopped, none of this would have came to fruition.
Yeah, you guys have 180 something podcasts, and there's that stat that 90% of podcast hosts don't get past episode 10 or something like that. Yeah, I might be butchering that, but
I think
you're right.
Yeah. We've done 185 or 6 now, and probably 2.5 years of one every Monday. So adding the song to it really, like you just said, made us committed to putting ourselves out there, whether we want to or not. We just got to go and do it. We're all in.
Yeah, no, big time. And speaking of the Nucleus Network, what is the biggest misunderstanding people have about the Nucleus Network and what it is?
You might have different answers here. I can give mine. Because our business has evolved a lot, people who aren't familiar with us or haven't been to an event or haven't been in the network don't fully understand it. And so a lot of times the question we get is like, how do I join the network, right? Like where do I sign up? And for us, as we mentioned earlier, we like to keep that open. We want to be, intentionally inclusive and keep it casual and dynamic, because if you guys are great people, you should be in the network. There shouldn't be a gate to that or like a paywall behind that. And so that, I would say, for me, is probably the biggest misconception is like, oh, you can't join the network, or how do you join the network? It's, you're good people. You come in through a warm intro. We kind of, catch a vibe and see synergies and get along as humans. You're in. That's it,
Yeah. Right.
Question for both of you. What is your favorite thing about what you do?
I can start. I was at lunch today actually with big founder, well-known company, and I explained to him what we did, and he said, "Okay, so you basically every morning wake up and you get to talk to your friends and connect them to your other friends." And I said, well, and invest in some too. And I said, wait a minute, that's exactly what I do. And I get to travel while doing it. So my favorite thing is being able to listen to what my friends need and their challenges, and being able to meet more people, expand our gravity to be closer to more people, and be able to actually directly introduce and actually see challenges get solved. My favorite text to get, Axe knows this about me, is when we introduce two people, we do follow-ups usually every week. And from the follow-up, that person was like, that was the best conversation I've had all week. Or I just closed my next investment because of you, or because of Nucleus. So I also set up my best friend with his wife because of this business too.
Oh shit! Nice.
You really never know what someone's going to need. That's my favorite part of doing what we do. Axe, go ahead.
Yeah, that was a good answer.
All right.
I would say no. I would say my favorite part about what I do is seeing the impact the introductions have on the people we love. And that's a different way of saying the same thing Jake said, but the way that manifests for me is through the investing arm. So Nucleus Ventures is the most recent of the three pillars that we've kind of stood up, and it's growing the fastest for sure, but we're investing in founders, right? We've got a network of investors, we syndicate deals, and we kind of invest in the founders who are leveraging their own warm introductions and their own networks. The only way we'll make those introductions is if we've proven we can help them first, right? I think, and not to get too specific in the nuance of venture capital, but a lot of VC funds will make an investment and they'll say, hey, we're investing in you three. We love your podcast. We're going to put capital behind you. Now that we're invested and we have skin in the game and we have equity, how can we help? Who can we connect you to be guests? Who can we connect you to sponsor? We flip that backwards. We leverage connections and we make introductions for founders first. And that's our way of saying like, hey, is this person as legit as we think they are? Can we really help them leveraging our own network? And then again, we have that number. So for example, we made an investment recently for that founder already. We've made 37 introductions, raised over 7 figures, landed their enterprise client. Like these are things that are tangible and they're quantifiable and we can speak to them and we have the proof. And so that for me is great because of what Jake said. That happens. They come back and they're like, you changed my life. You changed my entire business. You changed my life. You connected me to my best friend, whatever it might be. And that for me is the most fulfilling part. And I would say, yeah, in similar Jake fashion, like we wake up every day and we connect people to each other, and not many people can say that they do that for a living.
So true.
That's
You guys are
amazing.
professional matchmakers.
Yeah.
Well, we get that sometimes. Yeah.
I think I could speak for all of us. You guys have any events coming up in Chicago or South Florida that we could attend?
South Florida for sure. Our head of growth, Danny, shout out Danny, just relocated down here for a few months. So we hosted an event on Friday in Miami, which is why I'm down here in South Florida. Nice. We'll probably be doing a few of those a month for the next 3-ish months. So absolutely, we'll keep you guys posted. Almost all of our events are either on our newsletter or on our LinkedIn because we're super active there. So you can find out more there. But I would say the 3 core hubs are New York, LA, Miami right now. We haven't done one in Chicago yet.
We got a big IU and Michigan base here. Big time. So as two co-founders, from an operations standpoint, how do you two delegate who's going to do what on what day or what week, and what your tasks are for that? What needs to get done?
I do everything. Michael does nothing and plays tennis. Alex, you want to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, initially, Jake, I don't know if you remember this. When we first started the company, we had that office. We literally had like an internal document of like who's going to do what, because we had to start from scratch, right? So I was like, I'll do these 17 things. You'll do these 21 things. And then let's just like stay in touch about them. And I think over time, now that it's been 2.5 years, we know where our strengths lie and where our weaknesses lie. And I think we're lucky that those complement each other. So for example, Jake really spearheads the Nucleus Advisory Program, which is the intros business. And I support and I'm pretty hands-on, but that's kind of his main focus. I spearhead Nucleus Ventures in the investing business and Jake supports. And now we've got Danny helping out on the community/event side. But, I mean, when you look at a business, you have operations, finance, legal, accounting, marketing. I could say confidently as co-founders, each of us have our hands in both. But as it comes down to like a specific thing, like for example, invoicing or, event sponsorships, we each kind of divide and conquer. But that's also everlasting. I mean, sometimes I'll take over for Jake and vice versa.
What's up, guys? One podcast, one song every week. Podcast on Mondays, music on Fridays. Check it out.
Another question for both of you. Where do you see Nucleus in 10 years from now?
Yeah,
that's a Jake question.
That is a big question. It changes. I think this is a common question that people get, especially when they're founding a company. And most will give you like a direct answer, like, here's where I want to be. This is like my dream. And if I don't get there, I'm going to be sad about it, for example. Like that's what founders think in their head. For us, Ax and I are both like, we kind of just like ride with the times on where we're going, but we also still have a vision of where we want to go. So to answer your question, by the time I'm all done, I think Ax agrees is like, I want to make at least 1 million intros, 1 million warm introductions to people and be able to track all of them and be able to actually see where that's come to fruition. Maybe that's in 10 years, maybe that's in 20, maybe that's in 5 with the advent of AI and us being able to make more intros. That's one side of it. The second is I definitely want to become, as a whole, as Nucleus, want to become very known in the best way possible in the venture world. So maybe that's from the amount of money we allocate, which it doesn't need to be, but maybe that's actually like the firm or the group that people really want to work with because we're actually helping our founders. We're not just investing money and just being the people behind the scenes. I think from a venture perspective, we really want to be like the next iteration of that. And then lastly, I mean, professionally, to be able to control our time, which is really important. And as founders, most of the time you just get so stuck in your business that you forget to like actually enjoy what you're doing. So if we're enjoying what we're doing 10 years down the line, I think we'll be in really good shape. Ax, anything to add?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And
Right.
the greatest founders that you guys come across, what do they have in common?
They're psychotic and they're insane and they're relentless and they can't sleep at night because their own intellectual curiosity or their own need to prove to any and everyone that'll listen that what they're building has like is worth it. That's what we see, and we can kind of you can tell it right away. And by the way, we've made a lot of investments early and late stage. We're far from the best investors yet. We have a long way to go, and we kind of consistently, even right before this call, we're talking about like, hey, what are we looking for? For our next investment, what kind of personality traits or characteristics or even industries should we focus on? Because we're pretty generalist and agnostic in that sense. But no matter what industry or no matter what stage. Or no matter what personality traits this person has, I would say that there's in the best way possible, something off about them. They have this itch they have to scratch and they won't stop until, their goal is achieved.
And on the other end of that, the greatest investors you guys come across, what do they have in common?
One more thing on the founder side, they realize that they don't work 9 to 5 and that they're very, very effective communicators. For us, if we make an intro to them to potential investor or customer, they're going to get right on that introduction and actually spend time to talk about them. Mark Cuban always says this. Mark Cuban answers his emails, mostly all of them. He answers all of his emails and he never forgets to answer them. So the best founders we've seen are great communicators. To answer your question on the investor side, I think for me is that investors that are open-minded, that don't just see a number on the paper and they're like, I'm not investing because of this, or I'm not just like stuck on this industry. Those are the type of investors that I like to work with that I think will do the best in the long term. Ax, I'm sure you have a different answer. Let me know.
Yeah. So on early stage investing, like Jake said, the numbers matter less. I'm not going to say they don't matter, but there's a saying, you invest in the jockey, not the horse, especially at the early stage. And so we're not, the guys to underwrite a deal and crunch numbers and run a forecast when we're investing in early stage, because none of that, there's not enough sample size, right? Like you're betting on someone who says they can do something and maybe they've done a little bit of that, but you're betting on the fact that they could do more of it, like very fast for a long time to come. And so I always say we don't underwrite deals, we underwrite people. Like we're looking to understand everything about this individual, their history, their background, what makes them itch, what they're trying to build, why they're trying to build it, who they're trying to target. And then if we kind of see that same vision, plus we're able to prove that we can help them achieve that vision, leveraging our network, I think that's when we get excited. But that's what I think I see in the best other investors, because we co-invest with investors all the time.
And
Another information. Asking you guys a question. Here we go. What makes the best 2 questions that are in one? Who's been your favorite podcast guest? And what makes the best podcast guest?
Well, let me add a third component. The best podcast conversations are the conversations that are evergreen. They're not timely. You can listen whenever. In a couple decades from now, they still provide the same value. The best guest we've had is always the next one.
Besides today,
always the next one.
That's
and
what
then
we're talking about.
The most profound, the person that's had the biggest effect on, I think, all of our thinking is a man named Kenny Werner.
I was thinking
He's a jazz master from Berkeley College. And Ethan, I'll let Ethan continue here.
I was thinking the same person. Kenny Werner, jazz pianist, and he introduced us to a concept that he calls the space. And basically what it is like when you're like in the zone, whether it be, he referred to it from a musical perspective, but I'm sure you guys have experienced it in business or life or sports, when you're in that zone, when like you're not thinking, you're just in the moment doing, you're just kind of flowing. And he talked about how the best musicians enter that space effortlessly, and that it should be effortless. Like when you're working a deal and you're in the zone and you're in conversation and it just flows out of you like a river and it's effortless. He talked about living life in that space and how to get there as often as you can. And that conversation is something we always come back to because it's very, like Merrick said, evergreen.
Yeah,
How do
big time.
you get there? What did he say?
So it's
I was gonna say, wait,
go ahead, Ethan.
I was gonna say, it's not as much like getting there. It's almost like you have to remember that you're kind of always there. It's your natural state almost. Like people get so caught up thinking, and when you let the mind think, you go away from that. So like I'm sure you've noticed if you played like basketball, right? You're not thinking when you shoot, you're just doing it. That's like the zone.
Do you guys golf?
I don't golf well, but I play often.
So
yeah.
we're golfers. So when you hit a great shot and you're playing your best golf, like you're not thinking at all, and that's where you talks about the state of effortless mastery. And he wrote a book called Effortless Mastery. So if you get the book, we have it right over here. Like I've gotten into music later in life. Ethan was my introduction to it. So like as like you start doing new things and you feel like the flow of, oh my God, that was so good. And then when you think about it, you lose it. Like it's not as good. Like you're out of time on the drums or whatever. So like it's about like getting there and knowing you're there, but then like not overthinking it. Just it's kind of like when if you're sitting on your laptop and you just work for 5 hours straight and the clock just flew.
Yeah.
That's the space. So
it's not just music. Like he talked about it from a music perspective. I'm sure you guys experience it every single day when you're just banging out emails and like just kind of rolling on your laptop. You're there, and it's something that people live most of their life in when they're just in the flow, doing what they're supposed to be doing, not thinking. So he said you also mentioned the thing that like if you just tell yourself, like just repeat to yourself, like I'm a master, I'm great. He referred to it to music, like every note I play is the most beautiful note I've ever heard. You can apply that mindset to anything because there's no right or wrong, like you're the best or you're the worst. It's just you are a master, what you do, and you're the best version of yourself is kind of it's kind of what he was like getting at with the space. And that's what everyone experiences when they're in there. Like you feel like
another great podcast you guys would really enjoy. We had Vic Keller on our podcast. I don't know if you know Vic.
Really recently.
Really eye-opening conversation and really enjoyed talking
Vic was
to him.
cool because we touched on obviously business, but also how like just like being a good person and having faith and just like loving each other plays into business. And like you guys would really resonate with that.
So another thing I would say a common theme, we talked about this with Greg Norman Jr. back in August, a common theme that all these people have that, you know, you maybe admire or look up to is no one's really that special. Everyone just picked one thing and stuck with it and continued to improve and outlast. I think as we've done all these episodes, the main outlier, if you want to define success, we've talked about this. Success is defined as improving and outlasting. Like that's my biggest takeaway from doing all these episodes. They just, like you said, you can't quit. You just got to continue forward, advance confidently. And yeah, I think that's how you define success.
Like everything is figure outable.
Yes.
So like whatever you're doing, whether you're like experienced in it or not, like you just keep doing it. You're going to figure it out. You're going to get better. And you just keep telling yourself you're great. You are great. Like you just got to like engrave that into you with whatever you're doing.
Well, and Jake, going back, I think you asked what makes a great podcast, and this has been a great podcast. And I think it's like you guys asking us questions most people don't ask us questions, I feel like.
Yeah.
So like you asking questions allowed us to also open up and create a more valuable conversation.
Yeah.
Well,
Jay, you got to be curious. That's what
you got to be.
Well, and I would say that's probably done wonders for you guys. You host all these networking events, right? You're talking to a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life. Talk on how you guys have improved as speakers and listeners, more importantly.
Yeah, there's a lot of both of that happening on a day to day. I'll speak on it from like the day to day perspective when I'm going in and out of meetings, which is it's our job to ask questions. I mean, same with you guys. You guys have gotten, I'm sure, a lot better at it over the past couple of years, and you'll only continue to improve as you improve and outlast using success as definition. But on these Zoom calls, and even when I'm meeting people in person, for coffee or lunch, I would argue sometimes ask too many questions, and I'll put myself in this bucket. Like I'll play 21 questions and they get 0. I get all 21 of them. And I'm asking them everything about their personal and professional side so I can really understand them. And that's, selfishly our best way to put us in a position to help them. Right. But I also noticed I kind of geek out over like the human psychology aspect of it. I think innately humans love talking, period, but also talking more about themselves, right? And so if you can get someone to really open up and tell them, have them tell you how they found that zone or that space, or they got into that runner's high is the equivalent that I was thinking about when you guys were talking about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's where like that, even those like you don't have to be in it. Talking about it gets people going, and like both sides can get energy. Like there's so many calls Jake and I have, 2 of them happened today, where we'll hop off a call that only one of us is on. We'll call each other and be like, dude, I just got off the sickest call. Like I literally feel high right now. Here's what just happened. Like that's kind of what we strive to get out of a lot of these calls from the other person. We want the other people, and of course us too, to have that aura, that feeling after speaking with somebody.
Yeah. To add to that, people view time differently. I think if you can understand how people see time, you'll eventually understand how to talk to them. I can explain more on that.
Let's hear it.
Some people see time as, okay, I'm going to get on a 15 to 30-minute call or attend this event for 2 hours, 3 hours. And for me, here's what I'm trying to get out of it based on my time. Some people want to be like quick. Hey, what are you looking for? How can I help you? Like quick and efficient. Some people want to like spend more time on individual, like getting to know you more on first calls. If you can understand what people's like MO or ROI is on their time, I think that's when you can start to really realize how you should talk to them. So that's where I spend my time actually. So I'm getting on the phone, and usually how I start calls is I'm like, hey, I know you have a lot going on. Thank you so much for taking this time. Like, do you want to talk for 10 minutes or do you want to talk for 30 minutes? Are you okay for us to be on audio or video? And I first understand when I first meet someone, like how they operate so that I can tailor the way I'm doing it. Like, there's the classic adage where you get on the phone with someone and you're like, hey, how's the weather? Let's talk about the weather for 10 minutes. A lot of people nowadays don't want to do that, but some people do. But if you find the ones that do and you talk to them in weather gossip in the way that they like, I promise you they're going to love you. But if you talk to someone who doesn't like talking about the weather, you're in trouble. They're probably not going to want to have another conversation with you. So understanding the other person's thoughts on time, I think, is really important when it comes to listening.
Yeah.
What is
perspective?
how does the Nucleus Network think about time collectively? You guys have grown. You have employees now. How is time managed amongst everyone?
Yeah, Mikey and I are different. I like to do 15-minute calls, and I've told Mike that. We have so much inbound, which is a blessing in disguise, because a lot of founders want to talk to us and investors and people. We need to be, when we first started, we were just like on the phone with everybody. We were just like, if you want to talk and learn more about Nucleus, let's talk. Let's do it. Now we've had to get a little bit more effective with our time, which is actually what we're starting to implement, because we do want to talk to everybody and find ways to help. So we're really trying now to put together a landing page or landing pages where, rather than us getting on the phone with everybody, they can just fill out a survey and we can place them in the right place or introduce them to the right people. So when it comes to time, we have a team meeting every week with our whole team. Mikey and I take individual calls. Mike usually does 30-minute meetings. I try to do 15. We have a team meeting, which is 30 minutes. And Mike and I, because we're in different cities, we usually talk to each other like twice or 3 times a day. And when needed, we'll just like send each other voice notes if it doesn't need to take a call. And from there, I think we've been really effective with our time. And Ax, feel free to add anything or change it.
When you ask about time management, like Jake said in the beginning, we were yes men, and I still like to think we are yes men, but I think the better we can get at saying no, the faster we'll grow. Because at this point we found what's worked for us, right? These 3 pillars are still pretty vague. Like we're making introductions, we're making investments, we're hosting events. That lends itself to almost every industry. We could speak to a founder, an investor, a brand, an agency, an influencer, an operator. And so internally, we try to bucket conversations in any of those 3 pillars. Like, is this a call for a partner on the community side? Is this a potential investment we're making, right? Because then it's a different lens of the way and the perspective we take towards the call. And then I think it goes back to what you guys asked about earlier, which is internally, who owns what roles, like what are the roles and responsibilities and deliverables of the team at Nucleus? Because if it is something on the investment side, like maybe I'm taking a first look at it, or, I'm tag teaming it with somebody else, versus if it's on the event side, maybe we're passing it over to Danny. And so that's kind of like dividing and conquering our time is something that's been really helpful for us. We've got a team internally that's helped us do that. And then I would say, honestly, like there's a lot, AI, sure, but tools and platforms and technologies that have helped us maximize our time. And so, for example, Jake mentioned voice notes. I've been using this one product that's like voice to text. And so even if I'm sending a text or an email or making a LinkedIn post that you guys see, that's me talking to my phone, because you could type at XYZ words per minute. You can talk at 3 times that rate.
Yeah.
And so you multiply that times, 10, 12 hours a day working over, years, you get a lot of productivity hacks like that we're trying to implement, both internally and externally, to help us maximize that time.
I have an idea for you guys before you comment on that.
Let's
What
hear
if
it.
using AI after every conversation on the podcast and making a song based on the conversation we had and sending it to your guests?
Really AI to write the song?
Or use your own brain, but you can use the AI's brain to make it easier as a song.
I would say it's a cool concept. It would work if we used like the transcript into like an AI generator to make the song, because a lot of the songs we make probably take like 3 to 4 months to finalize it.
I
So
was gonna ask, is
to make it like is
like
sorry.
just like the lyrics or like the whole composition?
Yeah,
Like the
The lyrics.
Oh, okay.
like that could be done,
That's
but
kinda
because
cool.
in order to add like the instruments and make it, I would say, as professional as our standards are for the songs we release, it would probably take too long to do one for every guest.
If you did AI,
But if
it kinda
they
takes
have
the-
those AI things that will even make the song as
I
well.
feel like if you did it AI though, it takes like the personality away.
Yeah.
Like there's something cool about like writing something for someone just like from your heart. Whereas if you gave it to AI, it's just gonna like give you like some sort of summary of the podcast that rhymes, and that's cool too. I like that, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's definitely an interesting concept.
I just
You
don't
guys,
no one has ever sent us a song from a podcast we've been on.
We'll send you one.
they'll give you a theme song.
Well, Jake, that's interesting you say that. That's a very creative way of thinking. What are some things that you two do after you meet someone that kind of stick out in a way that's similar to that?
Outside of intros, which is what we try and do after every call on, every good call
It's
that
an
happens.
outro. How about outros?
Outros? Yeah. Outside of making intros, I should say, we're big on gifting. We're big on giving thoughtful, little, small, intentional gifts to people to let them know that we're thinking about them. And it could be a birthday gift, but it also could just be like, hey, thanks for the partnership, thanks for the call, thanks for the XYZ. And we've gotten pretty creative with the types of gifts and whatnot, but that's something we try and lean into more and more, because it's less about the dollar spent, it's more about the thought put into it. Obviously, people always say that, but it's true. And we've been sent a lot of gifts, even if it's free samples or products from founders, or if it's an experiential gift of sorts. We're big on giving gifts for sure.
And you guys have the upper hand. Content is a currency. So you guys are people access to come on and make content with them. So like, I'm sure you guys use ready, but sending people clips or tagging them on the internet is a really big value add. And you guys have helped 184 people you said have been on the show.
Something like that, yeah.
You've directed,
How about, for you guys, you're talking about content being king. Any future forecast where we see a Nucleus Network podcast? I'm sure that's been discussed.
It's been discussed. Yeah, it's been discussed. We'll never say never. We've got a lot going on, all good things. Podcast is something that is definitely top of mind for us. I think in the short term, we'll continue to be guests on amazing podcasts like ones like these. So thanks for having us, boys. And also, I think things could change pretty quickly as we continue to ramp up here.
If we had a studio like that, it'd be game over.
Yeah, epic backdrop, by the way. Walk us through what we're looking at here.
So there's a
world.
We're in our basement, and
You're looking at the
set
world.
this up.
We got
You go ahead.
we got a vinyl record here of our second album, A Brief Moment Within Eternity. We've got the IU piggy bank behind it.
Yes.
Oh, it's hiding.
Yeah.
The IU logo is hiding.
We've got
good idea.
We've got the best coffee in the world. Our coffee partner,
Our partner, Brickhouse Coffee Co.
Coffee.
Yep.
in Indianapolis.
We've got a kick drum. This is our band, Apollo Celine. We've got a statue from our grandfather.
Couple books from our
You guys are the first to ask about the
And then
backdrop.
a couple guitars here. This is a guitar my uncle gave me.
It's epic.
Rock on. Yeah.
Guitar.
You
So,
look like a
dude,
rock
you guys,
star.
I'm really loving what you guys are doing with Nucleus Network. I'm shocked to hear you're only 2.5 years in. So keep it fucking up. I love what you guys are doing. Those listening want to keep up with the two of you, Nucleus Network, the whole 9 yards. Best way for people to do that.
DM Michael watermelon juice on LinkedIn. I'm kidding. Another quick thing before I tell you guys should maybe get like name tags with your names. You know what I mean? Like in front of you.
Yeah, that's
On the
not
table.
bad. I like
Yeah.
that idea.
That's kind of
Like
fun.
classes in session. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna do that. I like that.
Maybe
Funny.
save that for us. Maybe we'll. Anyway, don't get them yet.
Yeah.
Decide how people can find us. Yeah, DM us on LinkedIn at Michael Axman at Jake Fleshner, and then also for me, feel free to email me jake@thenucleusnetwork.com. I'll even put my cell number if anyone wants to text me 310-880-9259. We try to be as accessible as possible, and our website is thenucleusnetwork.com.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Yeah, it's great to meet you both. Happy we were able to finally do this. We will certainly be doing it again next time in person in one of these great cities in our country. And look forward to what's ahead, guys. Thanks for the time. Thanks for the energy. It's rock and roll.
Thank you guys.
Proud
All
of
the
it.
best,
Much
guys.
appreciated, boys.
Rock on.
Talk soon.